This is In Depth. We are now less than 3 months away from Election Day, and we are entering uncharted territory, the likes we've never seen. Tonight, where are we heading? Joining me now is our longtime guest political analyst, Dr. Robert Dian, Associate Professor and Eigelhart Chair at the University of Evansville. Dr. Dian, mail-in voting, it's part of the debate right now, but it's really not that new when you think about it. What do you see as the biggest challenge in mail-in voting as we approach Election Day?
Well, there's some states across America who've adopted mail-in voting statewide, but Indiana really lags when you look at all 50 states. There's an urgent question before the governor and the Indiana Election Commission, and time is not going to be on their side. I think the decision needs to be made very quickly to do what they did during the primary and allow people the option to ask for a no-excuse absentee ballot. It's not clear yet whether Governor Holcomb is going to go for that, but it would be regrettable, I think, if by the time November approaches, it looks like we need that and it's too late.
Do you see an election night, Dr. Dian, where no winner will be projected or even declared?
Well, of course, it depends on the race. There's some races right now that don't look particularly competitive, so I suspect there'll be some that you can call on election night, so you'll have something to cover. But boy, in a close race, I think we've already seen as in the results of the New York State primary that it took several weeks for a couple close congressional primaries to be decided. And that's something that we're just not used to. Remember all the heartburn people had after the 2000 election and the unfolding recount in Florida. I don't think we want to see relive that experience next time around.
Well, let's talk about presidential politics polling. We know what happened in 2016. What did we learn then, and how does it apply today between President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden?
Well, there were some last-minute changes in a few states where a couple constituencies either outperformed or underperformed, and that threw off the electoral count. But the polls were pretty solid. They expected that Hillary Clinton would win the popular vote, and she did by 3 million. And as we speak today, Joe Biden is polling better than Hillary Clinton ever did. In fact, he's been ahead in pretty much every poll for the past year. So I suspect that that's pretty much where the race is. And barring any big changes, I think the president's got a lot of work to do in the next 3 months to change the status quo.
The running mate pick, it can make or break a campaign. Who do you think Joe Biden will pick, or do you have any idea? A lot of people don't right now.
Well, when Joe Biden was picked to be vice president, it was at the end of August. So I know there's a lot of people who want to hurry up and find out. And it is a fun parlor game, but we know it's going to be a woman. We know it's going to be somebody qualified to take on the position of vice president and possibly even worse. It's a heartbeat away from the White House. It sure looks like it has devolved down or narrowed down to Kamala Harris and Susan Rice. And Susan Rice is a bit of a wild card because she's never run for office before, but she's also somebody who's worked very closely with Joe Biden, and he trusts her and trusts her credentials. And so it's anybody's guess. At the end of the day, for what it's worth, I'm not sure that it's going to make an enormous difference in the race. It's very hard to find a case where the vice presidential choice really moved the needle in any significant way in voting behavior.
Dr. Dian, there's a lot of worry out there, possibly a delayed election. President Trump suggested that. President Trump has said that he may not concede. Inauguration Day, the pandemic, we have 2 conventions with very few people in the arenas. What do you make of all this?
It's a very troubling time. You know, the economy is stretched to the limit. There's racial discord. There's this pandemic, which has everyone on edge and doing things that we're just not used to. But the Constitution is a pretty solid thing, and the American public's commitment to democracy is a very solid thing. And so I'm convinced that we're a resilient people. The president doesn't have the power to delay the election. We've never done it before. Mitch McConnell said as much the other day. He was very clear about that.
Let's talk about Mitch McConnell if we can, and we've got about 30 seconds here. Has he lost control of his own party considering the situation with the stimulus package, and is he vulnerable now in Kentucky?
Mitch McConnell is a pretty solid choice to lead the Republicans. It's unclear whether the Republicans will be in the majority next January, but he's favored to win in the Commonwealth. And, you know, he had good news tonight in the Tennessee primary. The person that the president and Mitch McConnell wanted won that primary pretty handily. So I think his hold on the party caucus is pretty secure.
All right, Dr. Robert Dine, good to talk to you as always. Thanks for joining us, and take care and stay healthy.